What's up, guys? Back with another video. Today's over Gollem strategy. This strategy guide and the three before it and the ones coming after are ladder strategy guides, so the concepts are going to be more geared towards ladder. Some of the concepts can be used for other game modes, but it's mainly for ladder. So this replay is from Batman. He is in the clan Jesus Saves and is a very high level 10. He had a ton of trophies. His highest win last time I saw him was 4473, and he was currently at 4413. And I've had these replays for a while. I tried to make a video on a different editing software, and so I've had these replays for a while, so I don't know how high he is right now. The Gollem is a good card, obviously, and is good in certain circumstances. It's hard to upgrade, so not everyone should use it. If you already have a high-leveled Gollem, that's a good reason to use it. Or if you practice with it and end up liking it, then just focus on upgrading it. Request it on Epic Sundays. It's an epic card, so it's very hard to upgrade compared to the others. So the upsides to Gollem is the Death Explosion, has the most HP out of any troop. It's a very good tank, it does decent damage. My favorite thing about the Gollem is the death damage when it explodes, because it really damages swarmy units especially. The downsides to the Gollem is that it's 8 elixir. It's susceptible to opposite lane counter pushes. It almost always has to be backed up with other troops, and it makes cycling harder, definitely not easier. The good spells to use, I put them in order how I thought that the order that I thought they were, that like from best to worst. And poison is my favorite because the Golem has a lot of HP, and the troops that they set down, your opponent sets down to defend the Golem, just sit in the poison, they're gonna either die or be damaged a lot. And troops such as the Minion Horde and the Barbarians, the Goblin Gang, the Skeleton Army will either instantly die or come close to instantly dying. And even Barbarians or Elite Barbs, after the explosion of the death explosion of the Golem and the poison, they'll either be dead or really close to dead. So when placing your Golem, the top thing you need to be ready for is an opposite lane counter push, because when you place your Golem, people will go opposite lane very often. So you have to be very good. You have to play very good defense, and sometimes I wait to place my Golem until double elixir, because I know that my opponent will counter push me hard. So this second replay is from my brother, and he's a pretty good Golem player. That's what he's been using for months now. So this tip, I don't know how effective it really is, but I feel like air troops are probably better with the Golem, because ground troops, such as the Barbarians, will kill off your ground support unit and then move on to the Golem. But if you use air troops like a Mega Minion, the ground troops obviously won't be able to kill the Mega Minion. They'll just go straight to the Golem, and with the Golem death damage and the Mega Minion or whatever air supporting unit you have hitting on those Barbarians, they will die or come close to dying. So the Golem is a really big tank, so it'll also take a lot of time for them to kill it unless they have an Inferno. So you gotta try to pick good, cheap defensive cards to compensate for the high cost of the Golem. You've got to be able to be ready to defend the opposite lane, because a good opponent will go in the opposite lane because they know that you just spent a bunch of elixir and you don't have enough elixir in your hand to defend with. So you've got to pick, in my opinion, the cards need to be 3 to 4 elixir and maybe 5. 3 to 4 elixir is probably best. You can do 2 or 1 also if you want. Just try to pick kind of cheaper but good defensive cards. So the overview, it has a lot of HP, which is good. It costs a lot of elixir, which obviously hurts. It's susceptible to opposite lane pushes. It minimizes same lane counter pushes. Death damage does a good amount of damage to your opponent's troops. It's an epic and is hard to upgrade. There's a learning curve to the Golem, and defenses can be rough sometimes. Defenses are definitely going to be pretty bad as a Golem player because of how much it costs. You're just spending so much elixir on a Golem. So one thing that I think would help you guys out with the Golem and with the defenses is by having a building, and more specifically a spawner. I think that a barbarian hut would be pretty cool. I don't know how that would work. The furnace and the tombstone are probably the most consistent, but I think that a barbarian hut would be pretty cool because when you place the spawner, it'll keep spawning troops, and also whenever you place your golem, your opponent will try to push the other lane, but the spawner will be there, so it'll be able to distract your opponent's troops while also hopefully spawning some of those troops to defend. So ladder in general, guys, you need to pick a deck and you need to stick with it because you're going to end up upgrading those cards really well, which is obviously going to be helpful. And then you're going to end up mastering that deck, and you'll learn the deck like the back of your foot, and you'll be able to play the game with your eyes closed if you wanted to. So just stick with either the same deck throughout the whole game for ladder or close to it. So if you have a giant and some new card comes out and you think it would really complement it well, maybe you change a card or two, but you want to keep the core of your deck the same because you want to just keep upgrading those cards and get them kind of over leveled so you can compete with higher people. So this replay is me using the Inferno Tower. The Inferno Tower is my favorite defensive card in the game. It might be my favorite card overall in the game because it's very consistent for me because I know how to use it. I see a lot of people play it, but they don't know how to use it. They don't protect it well. They let Electro Whizzes and minions and certain things kind of disrupt the use of their Inferno Tower. But for me, it's probably my favorite card or second favorite card in the whole game. And another thing, I highly suggest using the poison in a Golem deck and a zap, obviously, because you're going to come across Inferno Towers, and so you're going to need things to disrupt that. And here you see I use minions and miner to do it, and I don't actually do a very good job of killing the Inferno this time, but those are the types of things. Electro Whizzes sometimes can help, and then zaps will help out a little bit. Inferno Towers and Dragons can be very detrimental to a Golem, just like they can be to any other troop, so you definitely got to be ready for that, and you got to have certain troops and certain cards to help get value out of your Golem. You don't want just a Golem to go down the lane and die to an Inferno because you're losing, depending on which one it is. If it's an Inferno Dragon, you're losing 4 elixir. If it's a tower, you're losing 3 elixir. So just try to keep your Golem alive however you want to when you build your deck. Poison will help out a ton on other versus just about any other thing other than buildings. Even some buildings poison will help out with, but poison will help more against troops versus buildings, and zap will help out with buildings. A lot of top players use lightning because it helps out with buildings better, but I just don't think it's as valuable because its defensive value is not near as good. And so I'd stick with poison if I were you guys. And then for the rest of your cards that you use, try to get as many commons and rares in there as possible because you'll be able to upgrade those cards very high eventually, and that will complement your Golem and your poison and or other spells very well. So the fun fact today is that there are approximately 37.2 trillion cells in the human body. And I'll see you later for the next strategy guide.